Hey, it's only me, ready to show you how I make my amazing lamb Sunday dinner. So I've used a lamb leg and a boneless butterfly lamb leg. This is all ready for the trivet. So we've got carrots, rosemary, sage, thyme, shallots, garlic. I season all that with salt, pepper. I do add some truffle oil. Then I clean my meat, pop my meat on top. And I do like to add some little cuts in the meat and just stuff it with little bits of garlic and rosemary. Season again with salt and pepper and add a little bit more truffle oil over the top. I cover my meat and I pop it in the oven for about 45 minutes first. So it's covered now, ready for the oven. Next thing, we're on to the potatoes. I use Morris Pipers. I do add some Celtic sea salt with all the minerals, and I like to add a stock to my potatoes. So I'm going to peel them, clean them, pop them in some cold water with the stock and some salt, let them boil off and do their thing. And then we're ready to do the Yorkshire puddings. So I use 4 eggs, 200 mils of flour, 200 mils of milk, whisk it all up, and then I add it to a jug, pop it in the fridge to let it chill. That is the key to it. Cold batter to hot fat will give you perfect Yorkshires. Now the cauliflower cheese, I've used an extra mature and a smoky. I do add some Dijon mustard, plain flour, milk, cauliflower. Obviously we're going to do the roux and everything else. I'm going to grate my cheese up and then we're going to get ready to do our roux. So with the roux, what I do before I do that, obviously I'm going to chop up my cauliflower, pop it in a bowl. I don't put it in the oven. Some people do. I just parboil it for about 10 minutes and then I drain it so that it's not a watery consistence. So I'm going to melt some butter, add some flour. I do this by eye, so I just keep stirring it until it becomes like a thick paste and then gradually start adding my milk, stirring. Your arm will get sore from all this stirring, but trust me, it's worth it. Then we add the cheese in, again by eye. I don't really measure anything. So I'm adding the cheese and I'm stirring this now till it's nice and thick. We add a good dollop of Dijon mustard. Trust me when I tell you, this adds so much flavour. Look at that cheesy goodness. Wow. What we do then, obviously I transfer the cauliflower fully drained and cool, pop it into a tray. Then I'm just going to lather that sauce over the top, save some of the cheese and sprinkle that over. And then I just leave that to rest, leave it to set aside, and I'll pop it in for about 40 minutes once the roasters are in. So there's the meat now at 45 minutes. I've took the foil off. The smell was insane. I'll pop this back in the oven now with the foil off completely and just leave it. Chop my carrots up, my golden nuggets as we say, clean them, pop them in some cold water, and then I'm going to boil them off. Now there's the meat done. Look at that. I had to have a little taste. I'm going to tell you, it was delicious. It was unreal. The gravy, wait until you see the trivet. I add a beef stock cube, add some water, and I mash it all up, and then I just leave that to set aside. So you can do it gradually. It's not something that you've got to cook straight away. You just leave it there to infuse with all the flavours. Now, my golden nuggets. I use butter, honey, garlic, parsley. Drain them, and then I add a good dollop of butter, a good drizzle of honey, some of the garlic and some of the parsley. Give them a good mix around and I just leave them. And when I tell you they melt in your mouth, that is not an exaggeration. We're using tender stem broccoli. Broccoli's pretty easy, so I'll just cut that, clean it, leave it to the side. And then I'm using for the roast potatoes beef dripping. This is from a local butcher's, Fraser's Butchers. Beef dripping, a little key, warm it up on the pan. Warm it up on the hob until it's boiling hot. Just don't have to let it heat up in the oven. And then I pour the hot oil over the potatoes. It's exactly the same format as doing it in the oven, but it's easier. Now there's the lamb. I cut all the meat off the bone because I add it to the gravy, and this is absolutely divine. Now there's the trivet. Pop it into a sieve, pop it on a pan and just crush all those veg and all the garlic and everything up. I've used Lambisto best to thicken this up. This gravy was absolutely insane. Now everything's cooking nicely. There's the meat added to the gravy, and this makes a massive difference. Honestly, it is beautiful. It is melting your mouth. It is gorgeous. You can add a bit of mint sauce if you want, or do it at the end. There's the other golden nuggets. They're all done, nice and crispy. And then we've got the cauliflower cheese. Oh, look at that. Wow, I could have ate this by the bowl. Honestly, it was unreal. And sit down, because here's the finished product. My beautiful lamb Sunday dinner. Everything homemade, absolutely stunning. Meat, Yorkshire, veg, everything.